Hello plant friends, I wanted to share an experience that I had ordering plants internationally from Asean Plant Export, which is also known as tropicsathome.com. Now, I wanted to start this by saying I am not sponsored by them. I paid for these plants and I was excited to find a place where I could find a really great selection of rare Hoya, because that's mainly what I like to purchase. Here is my experience, the pros and cons, and you can decide whether this might be something you'll want to do for yourself. Okay, so I ordered 15 plants from Thailand on November 22nd, and I got an email notification on December 10th that they were shipped. I was able to track the shipping, and it was some international shipping carrier that was going to turn them over to UPS when it hit the US, and they were delivered 5 days later, so December 15th. So I was scared, this being my first order internationally for plants, and granted they were only in the mail for 5 days. I don't know where they sat and how cold they got and how well they were packaged. So when I opened them, I was so pleasantly surprised to find that most of them did really, really well. Out of the 15 plants, 3 of them were damaged by the cold, and it's still kind of iffy whether or not I'll be able to save them. I have them in my prop box right now, and I'm just hoping they're right on the edge of dying. So we'll see on that. So we'll say that out of the 15 plants, 3 were damaged, probably beyond repair, by the cold. I also did not receive 3. There were 3 that did not come in the package, but I will talk about that here in just a minute. So out of 15, I ended up with 9 healthy plants. So that's a 60% success rate. I think it's pretty good, and we'll get into that a little bit more in my pros and cons so that you can decide whether or not that is a gamble that you want to take. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the pros. The prices are absolutely incredible. I mean, I'm talking about Hoyas that I would probably pay anywhere from $60 to $100 here in the States. I was able to get cuttings for $5, and the most I paid was $10. So, I mean, these are substantial savings. $5 to $10 for $60 to $100 Hoyas. Really, really good prices. And that's what I know some of you who have been looking internationally to purchase these plants have really been excited about. However, there are some downsides when it comes to the money side of it, but again, we'll talk about that in the cons. So the second pro is the amount of variety that you have. I've never seen so many different types of Hoya. I mean, it was just mind-blowing to me. You know, you're just not going to find this kind of variety in the United States. Okay, number 3 on the pro side, they provide you with the phytosanitary certificate. So this documentation is necessary in order to import plants into the United States. This is so important because I have seen videos of people who have ordered plants online from out of the United States, and customs will just destroy the box. You cannot import plants into the US without this particular documentation. And when you go to order on the site, they automatically include it in your cart. So you can't forget it, you can't miss it. It is there, and it is necessary in order to import these plants. There is a cost to it though. It is $35. So you're going to add that on top of whatever price you pay on all those plants. So just keep that in mind, that you're going to have to pay the $35 for the documentation. But it's good that they have it added in so you just can't miss it. The next pro is that they were delivered in 5 days. I mean, that is wonderful. Like I said earlier, I have not been able to get any of my domestic packages, even via priority mail this time of year, that fast. So, huge pro. Obviously, regardless of what kind of plant you're ordering, the fastest you can get it to you is the best possible option. And I think 5 days is a pretty good amount of time to ensure that your plants are going to stay alive, even if the weather is not optimal. Okay, and the last pro, which is probably the biggest one here, is the quality of the plants. Now, I was very, very pleasantly surprised with how nice the plants were. All the Hoya that I ordered were cuttings, and most of them did not come with roots. Some of them were shipped in a moss and had really straggly roots that some of them were kind of dried out. But I am, definitely comfortable rooting Hoya, so that wasn't an issue for me. But for the most part, the leaves were in great shape, with the exception of the ones that obviously got damaged from the cold. But they really weren't wholly or rotted or looked like they had been eaten by something, or they looked well taken care of. And so I would say the quality was probably, 85 to 90% good. Now we're going to go and talk about the cons. The pictures on the website are not the plants that you're going to receive. I think everybody knows that, it's not the picture is going to be the exact plant, but I'm saying they're showing you a full, happy, big plant as an example of what your plant is going to end up looking like. So don't expect to get this nice, huge, big, beautiful plant. Again, I only ordered Hoya, not aroids, but from what I've heard from other people as well, is that, you might see this huge Thai constellation, but yours is just going to be a little baby plant. So these are things to keep in mind. The pictures are not great representations of what you're going to get. They're a representation of the species of plant that you're ordering. As for the Hoya, most of the pictures that they had were only of the blooms. So if you are unaware of some of the names, if you're not really familiar with what the particular name of the Hoya looks like, you're going to be doing a lot of back and forth looking on Google to try to figure out what it is. I also wish I had some sort of idea of how big the plants would be or how big the cuttings would be. I didn't know if I'd be getting, 2 leaves or 4 leaves or a partial plant. The bigger Hoya, I always got 2 leaves. So, the Finlaysoni and things like that, they had 2 leaves, and they were 2 very healthy leaves. However, on the smaller plants, I ordered some Hoya Sunrise, and that was like a really good chunk of a section of a plant, probably 15 leaves. So, it depends on the size of the plant, I think, but I think you probably be safe in assuming that you're going to get at least 2 leaves. And on the smaller ones, probably more. Okay, I touched on this a little bit earlier, but they're going to be unrooted if you order Hoya. And again, I did not order aroids, and so I'm sorry that I didn't get a really good taste of all of the different plants that they sell. I have heard that most of the other plants do come somewhat rooted, if not fully rooted, but I don't know that from experience. But for the Hoya, I really cannot say that I received one with really solid, healthy roots. They weren't rotted or anything, they just really weren't there, or they were really dried up. So just again, be confident in your ability to root a Hoya cutting. Next, in the cons, I'm going to talk about the packaging. And I guess this is kind of go either way. The packaging wasn't awful. Everything was just nicely folded up in its own little piece of paper. So each plant was either in moss or wrapped in a paper towel and then folded up in a piece of kind of like parchment paper and taped, and then the name was written on that. There wasn't much in terms of protection from the cold. So if you are planning on ordering in very, very cold weather like now, I probably wouldn't recommend it. If I knew that it would take as long as it did to get my order shipped, I probably would not have ordered, and I probably would have waited until late spring. So the packaging really wasn't awful. It just wasn't optimal for keeping the plants safe in extreme weather conditions. Okay, another con was how long it took to ship. So I ordered I think within a couple days, I got an email that said I was number 54th in line for shipping. They gave me then a time frame of December 10th through December 15th or something along those lines for the tentative shipping date, and that they would send me another email when the order shipped. So I waited 18 days from the date that I placed the order to the date that it was shipped, and then another 5 to receive it. So just keep in mind that it's not a really quick processing. It's a quick shipping, but not quick in the processing. So maybe expect to receive your order within a month, I would say, would be a safe guess. Another con would be the cost. Now this can also go in a pro, because we talked about this earlier. The plants were so much cheaper than what you could get in the United States. I mean, it was incredible how much cheaper. However, you have to balance that cost with the fact that you have to pay the $35 for that customs documentation that is necessary to import plants. So you have the $35 for that. And I ordered 15 plants, and I'm talking, the box was about this big. It was not a big box at all. Maybe a little bit more narrow than a shoebox. Fit all 15 plants in it. Shipping was $67. So you have $67 for shipping and then $35 for the documentation. I mean, that adds up really fast on top of the cost of the plant. So that is a con that you need to take into consideration. So the thinking behind this is, if you're just going to order maybe 3 or 5 plants, it's probably not going to be as cost effective as trying to find those plants in the United States and having them shipped to you domestically. If you're ordering a lot of plants, then it definitely makes more sense. So another con is the 3 that I didn't receive. So I unpacked them all. I was so excited going through them. I really didn't think much of it until I sat down and I thought, okay, wait, I ordered some of these and I didn't get this. And I went through all of the paper again, and sure enough, there was 3 plants I did not get. I emailed them immediately, and I got an email back within 24 hours saying that 2 of the plants that I had ordered were not healthy enough to ship out, and that they would do a refund for those 2 plants. Then I emailed them again about the 3rd plant because I didn't hear about that, and I just didn't hear back from them. And that plant was, I think, $3.50. So I'm not going to push that one. But I did get the refund for $10 for the other 2 plants that I ordered that were not healthy enough. And the only downside in that is that I did not receive an email prior to them shipping saying, look, I'm sorry, we're not going to ship these out. I didn't receive an email after it shipped. I think maybe they just are hoping that some people just don't catch it, or they'll deal with it if you happen to catch it, or I don't know what the thinking is there. But that was a little bit of a con. I was a little bit bummed about that. So next time I order, and I would suggest to you as well, if you do order from here, just take your receipt and check down all the plants and make sure that you did receive everything. So the bottom line, would I order from here again? And I absolutely think I would. It was a good experience. I would recommend it, and I hope this helps if you are thinking about trying to import some plants from Thailand, and if you've seen this particular company and you're wondering if it was legitimate and kind of worried about the quality of plants that you would receive, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with what you get. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this helps, and until next time, be well.